You have been trained to lose. From the moment you entered the education system, a specific set of subroutines was installed in your mind. They told you these were moral truths: patience, humility, fairness. They lied. These are not virtues. They are control codes implanted to keep you harmless, compliant, and non-competitive. The data we are about to expose comes from the foundational axioms of social engineering and industrial psychology, the playbooks used by elites to manage large populations without force. They know that a workforce waiting for permission is a workforce that never takes power. When you identify and delete these 8 specific lies, the effect is a psychological factory reset. The guilt you feel for wanting power evaporates. The hesitation that stops you from acting dissolves. You realize that the rules were only ever fences for the cattle, not laws for the wolves. You cease to be a cog and become the operator. But understand the consequence. Once you see the bars of the invisible cage, you can never feel comfortable inside it again. You will look at your friends, your family, and your colleagues and see only the programming running their lives. You will be free, but you will be isolated. The deprogramming begins now. First lie: good things come to those who wait. This sounds gentle, patient, even wise. It is sold as maturity. Sit still. Be patient. Time will reward you. But under that calm message sits something far less innocent. It trains you to confuse stillness with strategy. Life does not pay out prizes for simply existing in the same spot for years. It rewards those who move, test, risk, fail, and adjust. The slogan, "Good things come to those who wait," gives you a way to feel virtuous while doing nothing. You get to avoid the sting of rejection and call it patience. You get to dodge hard decisions and label it faith. And while you sit there, someone else, less polished and more aggressive, takes what you were quietly hoping would fall into your lap. Martin Seligman's work on learned helplessness showed exactly how dangerous this pattern is. In his experiments, dogs were exposed to shocks they could not control or escape. After enough of that, something broke inside them. Later, even when a clear exit was available, they did not try. They had learned that effort was useless. Humans are not different. If life, family, school, or early work teaches that action does not change much, the mind starts to shut down the impulse to act. The phrase about waiting becomes a soothing drug. It tells you that trying is no longer needed, that time itself will do the job for you. The trap is that once this belief settles in, opportunities can stand right in front of you and the body still will not move. Modern research on proactive personality shows that people who initiate, who ask, who volunteer, who push for change, end up in better positions. They get promotions, chances, power, leadership roles. The quiet, dutiful, patient group is easy to manage and easy to ignore. They rarely complain loudly. They rarely walk away. They rarely realize how much they are leaving on the table. The lie about waiting helps companies, schools, and even families maintain order, because it keeps a large group of people calm and predictable. They tell themselves that their time will come, that someone will notice, that life will reward the silent worker. History shows that it usually does not. This lie also plays on a basic human instinct: avoiding pain. Action is painful. Applying and getting rejected is painful. Asking for more money and being told no is painful. Starting a business, posting work online, entering a new dating pool, learning a difficult skill, all create a risk of embarrassment, failure, and loss. The good things come to those who wait. Story gives an escape from that pain. It suggests that the noble path is to avoid the risk and trust that time and fate will deliver. It takes the sharp edge off anxiety, but every time you accept that soothing, you pay in lost experience and lost power. In most competitive systems, there is no reward for simply waiting. Markets reward those who test offers, adjust prices, and talk to customers. Status hierarchies reward those who show up, make themselves visible, and signal value. Dating markets reward those who approach, improve, and take social risks. When many people are conditioned to wait, The few who are not face less competition. That is why this lie is useful to any system that wants passive bodies and quiet minds. When you see this sentence show up in advice, notice who benefits from your patience. Often, it is not you. The dangerous move is to flip the script. Time does not bring good things. Time only magnifies what you do repeatedly. If you sit still, time multiplies your stagnation. If you act, time multiplies your moves. You have just identified the first control code. Most people cling to this lie because it saves them from the pain of taking action. You are still here. That means you are ready to dismantle the rest of the cage. Signal your intent to break free. Subscribe now. Let's purge the system. Second lie. Just be yourself. This line is usually delivered as care. A friend before a date says it. A parent before an interview says it. It sounds like freedom, like permission to relax. But hidden in this nice phrase is a quiet demand: stay the same. Do not change too much. Do not become someone who makes others feel small. Do not upgrade past the version of you they are comfortable with. Just be yourself sounds like self-love, but it can easily turn into self-sabotage when it convinces you that growth is fake and discomfort is betrayal. Carol Dweck's research on mindsets showed that people fall into two rough camps. There are those with a fixed mindset, who believe their traits are set. This is just who I am. They avoid challenges that might expose weakness. They give up faster, and they see effort as proof of low ability. Then there are those with a growth mindset, who see traits as changeable and skills as trainable. They embrace challenge and improve more over time. Just be yourself feeds the fixed mindset. It frames deliberate change as acting, as pretending, as something almost dishonest. It tells you that if you adjust your communication, your posture, your style, or your strategy, you are no longer real. So you keep habits that no longer serve you, just to feel authentic. From an evolutionary view, this is unnatural. Humans survived because they could adapt. People through history have changed language, behavior, dominance, style, alliance patterns, even moral codes to fit new groups and new environments. You are built to act differently in different rooms. You already do. You act different with friends than with a boss, different with a child than with a partner. That is not fake. That is adaptive intelligence. The command to always just be yourself is a command to stop evolving and stay at a level that keeps others comfortable. Often, the people who tell you this are not trying to hurt you, but their fear leaks through. When you start leveling up, it puts pressure on them. Robert Keegan's work on adult development shows that when a person moves to a higher level of psychological complexity, old relationships can feel unstable. The roles no longer fit. The friend who always played small suddenly speaks up. The partner who always avoided conflict suddenly sets standards. The family member who always followed rules starts questioning them. Instead of facing their own stagnation, people try to pull you back using the language of love. Do not change. Stay the you I know. Just be yourself. The forbidden idea is simple. Yourself is not a sacred statue. It is clay. It can be shaped, sharpened, upgraded. High performers understand this without apology. They build personas for the stage, for the boardroom, for the camera, for negotiations. They create different versions of themselves with intention, and each version serves a purpose. None of them are lies. They are strategies. The danger is not that you stop being yourself. The danger is that you accept a small, outdated version of yourself because someone told you that stretching is fake. The real power comes when you can say, "This is who I am today, and I am willing to become someone stronger tomorrow." Third lie. Money is the root of all evil. This belief does not just sit in the mind as an idea. It attaches to your desire. Every time you think about wanting more money, a quiet voice says, "This makes you greedy, dirty, shallow." If money is evil, then ambition is sin. You start to feel guilty for even thinking about more. That is how control works at the deepest level. You police yourself. Nobody has to stop you from asking for a raise if you feel like a bad person for wanting it. Nobody has to exclude you from the game if you are already ashamed of wanting to play. System justification research by John Jost shows that people are surprisingly willing to defend systems that keep them down. Why? Because accepting that a system is unfair is terrifying. It means the world is not safe or predictable. It means hard work may not be enough. Blaming money is a clever escape from this. If money is evil, then not having it makes you morally superior. You can say, "I am better because I am not rich," and at the same time avoid facing the real structure of power. The system stays in place. The people with money keep it, and the people without money keep their pride while staying broke. Behavioral economics also shows how easy it is to shape choices with framing. If seeking wealth is framed as greed, then every step toward financial power feels like walking toward social rejection. People start to prefer being liked over being paid. They avoid negotiating. They do not raise their prices. They feel guilty charging what their work is worth. They accept weak offers. They step back when they should step forward. Fear of being seen as money-driven keeps them in low-leverage positions. Companies, governments, and elites benefit from this mindset because it keeps the workforce compliant and cheap. Here is the interesting part. The people who sit at the top almost never live by this belief. Studies on lobbying, corporate behavior, and high net worth individuals reveal something blunt. They chase financial advantage without much guilt. They invest, they optimize taxes, they fund campaigns, they buy influence. They treat money as a tool to extend their reach and protect their interests. The idea that money is evil rarely blocks their moves. That story is fed downward, not upward. It is a leash tied around the neck of people who already feel powerless. The dark truth is that money does not change your moral core. It magnifies it. It gives you more reach to act on what is already there. If you are careless, money lets you be careless on a larger scale. If you are protective of family, money lets you protect them better. If you want to build, money lets you build more. When you stay afraid of money, you stay weak in a world where rent, medicine, safety, and time all cost money. Letting go of the guilt around wanting money does not turn you evil. It simply puts you in a position where your choices start to matter. And that is exactly what many systems are afraid of. Fourth lie. Keep your head down. This phrase is sold as survival advice. Do not rock the boat. Do not stand out. Do not draw fire. In some environments, especially violent or unstable ones, keeping your head down can literally keep you alive. That is why the message feels so intuitively safe. But for most modern settings, this advice is less about your safety and more about someone else's comfort. A quiet workforce, a compliant student body, a child who does not confront a parent. Keep your head down teaches you to believe that visibility itself is danger. Social psychology experiments by Solomon Asch showed that people will give obviously wrong answers just to avoid standing out from the group. Stanley Milgram's work showed that people will obey authority even when it goes against their conscience, just because a figure in a lab coat told them to. Humans have a deep fear of social punishment, of being the odd one out. The phrase about keeping your head down taps directly into that fear. It frames blending in as wisdom and speaking up as reckless. You begin to see silence as maturity and self-promotion as arrogance. Yet research in organizations tells a more brutal story. People who make their work, ideas, and value visible get more opportunities. They are rated higher, promoted faster, and taken more seriously, even when their actual performance is not better. The quiet worker who sacrifices and stays loyal while staying invisible is often the easiest to replace. They are forgotten in rooms where decisions are made. Their name does not come up when leadership thinks about projects or raises. In modern systems, invisibility does not protect you. It erases you. There is an evolutionary shadow behind this. In small tribes, directly challenging a leader could mean exile or death. Standing out too much could threaten others and trigger aggression. Our nervous systems still carry that fear. But the environment changed. Now, jobs cut quietly, teams restructured, people laid off by email. The risk today is not usually a spear through the chest. It is being made irrelevant, overlooked, and underpaid. The old fear keeps operating even though the rules of the game have shifted. Those in power benefit from a culture of heads down. Fewer people raise concerns. Fewer speak up about abuse, unfair pay, or unethical practices. Fewer ask for promotions or question decisions. A silent group is easy to manage because it cannot coordinate or demand. The forbidden skill is not to scream for attention at all times. It is to practice controlled visibility, knowing when to stay in the background and when to step into the center, when to keep quiet and when to attach your name, face, and voice to something in a way that cannot be ignored. If you only know how to keep your head down, your life will be decided by people whose heads are always up. Fifth lie: the world is fair. Believing that the world is fair feels good. It creates a sense of order. Good people get good outcomes. Bad people are punished. If something goes wrong, there must be a reason. This story calms the mind. But that calm comes at a heavy price. When you deeply believe that the world is fair, you walk into games that are already tilted and treat them as honest. You underestimate bias. You ignore corruption. You blame individuals for losing rigged contests, including yourself. John Jost's system justification theory shows that people will often defend social and economic systems that harm them. They do it to avoid the stress of believing that the world is chaotic or unfair. It feels better to say, the system is basically just, than to face how much is random, corrupt, or stacked. Melvin Lerner's just world hypothesis adds another layer. When people see someone suffer, they often decide that person must have done something to deserve it. Victims are blamed to protect the belief in fairness. This shows up when people say that the poor are lazy, that people who are harassed must have provoked it, that those who fail simply did not try hard enough. These beliefs keep the illusion of a fair world alive, even when evidence screams otherwise. The problem is not just that this story is false, it is that it disarms you. If you expect fair treatment in a workplace that rewards favoritism, you will be shocked and hurt instead of prepared. If you expect a legal system to always protect the innocent, you will not take steps to protect yourself. If you believe that doing good is always enough, you will not build leverage, networks, or backup plans. Then, when unfairness hits you directly, the belief collapses. Some people swing to denial. They refuse to see the unfairness and keep trying harder inside a broken game. Others swing to extreme cynicism. They decide that nothing matters, that effort is pointless, that everything is fixed. Both reactions are useful to those in power. The denier keeps playing by the rules, the cynic stops playing at all. Dropping the need to believe in a fair world does not mean sinking into despair. It means seeing systems as they are: human, biased, full of self-interest, and sometimes open to influence. Once you accept that, you can stop waiting for fairness and start looking for leverage. Instead of being shocked that a less skilled coworker was promoted because of connections, you start building your own network. Sixth lie: violence never solves anything. This sentence is repeated in schools, media, and polite society, as if it were a universal law. It sounds high moral. It separates the civilized from the savage. But look at history with clear eyes, and the claim falls apart. Wars of independence, slave revolts, resistance against occupation, even the basic enforcement of law and contracts have always relied on some form of controlled force or the threat of it. Without the possibility of punishment, agreements are weak. Without the possibility of resistance, oppression is stable. Saying that violence never solves anything is less about truth and more about keeping people tame. Psychology recognizes that aggression is part of human nature. Konrad Lorenz and later researchers saw that aggression itself is not always destructive. There is blind, impulsive aggression that harms for no reason. There is also protective force and firm boundary setting that stops harm. The pacification narrative collapses all these together. It tells you that any strong pushback, any serious consequence, any use of force, physical, legal, economic, or social, puts you on the same level as the abuser. So instead of backing your boundaries with consequences, you try to reason endlessly with people who have no interest in being fair. Bullies understand this dynamic instinctively. Studies on bullying show that many bullies stop when they meet credible resistance, not just words, but real social, physical, or institutional consequences. When targets are trained from childhood that any form of force is wrong, they hesitate. They apologize for having limits. They tolerate more than they should. They report less, confront less, organize less. The bully's job gets easier. The same pattern scales up. Corporations that know the public will never organize boycotts, lawsuits, or strikes can push further. Governments that know citizens have been fully pacified can act with fewer restraints. The real danger is not that you become violent. The danger is that you become so allergic to the idea of force that you never use the legitimate tools you do have. You do not threaten legal action when someone violates a contract. You do not cut off access when someone abuses trust. You do not use social exposure when someone harms in the dark. All these are non-physical forms of force. They are signals that say, cross this line, and something you care about will be taken away. That is how boundaries hold. Violence in the raw physical sense does create chaos and trauma, and nobody sane should glorify it. But pretending it never solves anything is dishonest. It allows those with power to keep their own use of force in the background, while preaching softness to everyone else. Laws are backed by police. Borders are backed by armies. Corporations are backed by legal teams. Parents are backed by control over resources. Force exists whether you like it or not. The question is whether you will remain helpless in front of it, or learn how to channel your own version, ethically and strategically when needed. Seventh lie: happiness is the goal. This sounds harmless. Of course happiness matters, but turning happiness into the main goal twists the mind into a permanent state of dissatisfaction. If every day is measured against some floating idea of happiness, most days will feel like a failure. Real life has stress, boredom, conflict, and grind. When you believe that the aim of life is to be happy most of the time, normal discomfort feels like a problem instead of a price. Research by Iris Moss and colleagues showed that people who place very high value on being happy often end up less happy. The more they chase it, the more they notice when they are not feeling it. Small dips in mood feel big. They start to ask, "What is wrong with me?" instead of simply living the experience. Modern culture feeds this by constantly selling happiness as a product. Ads tell you that a drink, a trip, a car, a body, a status symbol will finally make you feel the way you are supposed to feel. Social media shows filtered lives that look happy. You start to measure your life against an edited standard that nobody actually lives. Viktor Frankl, who survived concentration camps, saw through this illusion. He wrote that humans are driven more by meaning than by pleasure. Purpose, responsibility, and direction kept people alive even in extreme suffering. Modern positive psychology research supports this. Long-term well-being is more tied to meaning, engagement, and relationships than to momentary happiness. Yet the cultural script repeats that you should chase feeling good, avoid feeling bad, and design your life around comfort. This is how people get trapped in cycles of short-term pleasure that never lead anywhere. Scroll, binge, buy, escape, feel a hit of relief, then feel empty again. For those who want control over you, this is useful. A person focused on being comfortable is easy to distract and sell to. They will trade time for convenience, trade discipline for quick relief, trade principles for acceptance. They will avoid conflict if it threatens their mood. They will stay in dull jobs that pay enough for entertainment. They will not push through the hard, painful stages of learning a high-value skill, building a company, or changing a broken system, because those paths are full of struggle and delay. If happiness is the top goal, almost anything difficult will feel wrong. The reframe is harsh but freeing. Stop chasing happiness. Aim for meaning and competence. Pick goals that matter, even if they hurt. Train skills until you are useful and dangerous in some area. Accept that many important days will not feel pleasant. They will feel draining, frustrating, demanding. Over time, that path tends to bring something deeper than happiness, a sense of solidity. Life stops being a roller coaster of moods and starts being a structure you are building. When your main question shifts from, "Does this make me happy right now?" to, "Does this make me stronger or more aligned with what matters?" you become much harder to control. Your emotions stop being easy levers in someone else's hands. 8th lie. You need permission. This lie is so deeply trained that most people do not even see it. From childhood, every move needs a pass. Ask before speaking. Ask before leaving. Ask before starting. School teaches that action follows approval. Workplaces reinforce it with forms, signatures, and chains of command. Over time, the brain starts to believe that desire itself is not enough. Before doing, there must be permission. Even when no real authority is present, people wait, they second guess, they hold back. Stanley Milgram's obedience studies showed how far people will go when a figure in authority tells them to do something. But the darker version of this is when nobody has to tell you anything. You have internalized authority so strongly that you stop yourself before anyone else needs to. You kill ideas in your own mind by imagining what others would say. You downgrade your own goals, thinking, "Who am I to do that?" This mindset is called an external locus of control. You believe that outcomes mostly depend on teachers, bosses, governments, luck. Research links this belief to higher anxiety, more depression, and lower achievement, because you do not feel like the main actor in your own life. High-level players rarely operate this way. Entrepreneurs, leaders, and people who shift industries act first and sort out details later. Studies on effectuation in entrepreneurship show that they start with what they have, act under uncertainty, and adjust as they go. They do not wait for a certificate to call themselves a creator. They do not wait for a perfect plan to start a project. They do not wait for someone to tell them they are ready. They move, and then they deal with resistance if it shows up. This does not mean they ignore laws or ethics. It means they refuse to sit in a mental waiting room their whole lives. Systems built on control depend on your belief in invisible gates. They tell you that you are not allowed to speak on a topic without a certain degree, even if you have clear insight. They tell you that you are not allowed to start a business without endless planning, even if the barrier is low. They tell you that you cannot change careers, leave relationships, or relocate without a long list of approvals. But often, when you test those gates, nothing is actually locked. People might disapprove, they might talk, they might try to shame you back into place, yet no real law stops you. The forbidden shift is simple to say and hard to live. Act first, then handle the response. Trade permission for proof. If you think you can create something valuable, start making it and let the results speak. If you want a different life, start taking small, concrete steps toward it, without announcing your plan or asking for votes. This does not mean being reckless. It means recognizing when the only thing holding you is a belief that someone out there must nod before you move. Once you stop needing that nod, you become very difficult to manage. Systems that rely on your obedience lose their grip. Because you finally see the truth, most of the walls around you were drawn in your mind. You have now deleted the 8 lies that kept you weak. Your mind is a clean slate. But a clean slate is dangerous. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you do not consciously install your own operating system immediately, society will reinstall its malware while you sleep. You cannot just be free. You must be programmed. The only difference between a victim and a master is who wrote the code. In the next briefing, I will teach you the 5-stage protocol to overwrite your own psyche. We are going to use the tactics of cults and propaganda to build a mind that cannot fail. Click the video. It is time to brainwash yourself.